The Shark Vertex is one of the very best cordless vacuums we've tested. However, I'm always looking for a better value, and I found this Levoit LVAC-300 for less money than the Shark. So I picked one up on Amazon, and I want to find out, can the Levoit compete with the Shark, not only in features, but also performance? And the results are not exactly what I expected. Links are down below. The LVAC-300 is a step up from their popular LVAC-200, and the Shark Vertex cordless is in the higher middle of the Shark model range. They're both cordless vacuums with allegedly up to 60 minutes of battery life, but that's not exactly what we found. The Shark is heavier at around 8.6 pounds with the wand and head, and the Levoit is only 6.6, and that makes a difference in places like stairs. The Levoit comes with a pet hair tool, but the Shark doesn't. With the Shark, you get this furniture tool, and you get an additional brush which clips on. It also comes with a wand. I actually lost the original tools, so I just went on Amazon and got these replacements. So they look pretty similar, but these are actually not a Shark brand. Just FYI. In addition to the pet hair tool, the Levoit comes with this very long wand, which has a little fluffy end here. So that should be good for reaching into higher or more difficult places. The Levoit is very good at cleaning kitty condos and pet furniture. That's what she got, quite a bit of cat hair, and we can see quite a bit of stuff got stuck on the roller. And the Shark just isn't as good. If you have allergies, if you have pets, if you're sensitive to dust, you want the stuff that you vacuum up to stay inside the canister of your vacuum. To evaluate this, we use our smoke test. The Shark has a system they call allergen seal, and it is very good at keeping the smoke inside the canister. There's basically almost no leakage. The Levoit canister is sealed, but you can see it is not as well sealed as the Shark. A little bit of smoke gets out of the handle. The Shark has Duo Clean power fins. It's a dual brush roll technology with soft rollers for hard floors and these fins for carpet. And it's just a heavier design. It's also anti-tangle, and we're going to test that in the next section of the video. Now, the LVAC-300 is a third generation brush roll design. You've got a single brush roll with different elements optimized for different surfaces, like hard floors and carpet. You can see with the Shark head, there's just more going on. There's more elements to it. The Levoit head has LEDs, and so does the Shark. One thing I noticed about the head on the Levoit is it tends to flip-flop back and forth side to side a little bit while you're vacuuming. It's just not quite as planted as the Shark. You can see when you're vacuuming with the Shark, the head is just a little bit more stable in the way it's attached to the wand. Let's see how these different head designs can perform with different tasks. So if you're going to be vacuuming up cereal, there's really one clear winner. The open style head of the Shark is just better able to get large chunks of dirt. So it's not really a cereal pusher like the Levoit. Now they're both supposed to be pretty anti-tangle, so let's see. Now I let them both run for a minute or two like you would when you're normally vacuuming. Let's check the results. The Shark seems to have done a really good job with the long hair. And the Levoit as well. I'm going to call that a tie. And picking up sand and other kinds of dirt on hardwood, they're both excellent. But where things are really going to come to a head is our carpet test. For our carpet pickup test, we sprinkled 40 grams of sand on the carpet and then ground it in with our special grinding in shoe. Then we measured how much dirt each one picked up and calculated the percentages. The Shark picked up 65% of the dirt we sprinkled on the carpet. However, the Levoit picked up 87%, significantly better. And I think it's due to the head design. And when it comes time to empty them, you just press a little button on the side, the cat comes and checks things out, and then you dump the dirt into your dustbin. One of the things we want to check on carpet is the ability of each vacuum to not only pick up cat hair, but also to see if it is anti-tangle. So let's start with the Shark. We're going to grind some of the pet hair in with my special pet hair shoe. And for good measure, we're just going to let some fall from the sky like it tends to do around my house. It seems pretty effective at picking up cat hair. There isn't really much tangled on the rollers, a little bit here, but if you do get any, little button over here, pop that out. And you can see these anti-tangle combs over here that are pretty effective. Let's try the Levoit. The roller on the Levoit also looks pretty good, but if you do need to untangle it, there's a little button on the top. Just press this, and the roller comes out. And you can also see the anti-tangle combs at the back of the head in the Levoit. Now this is my shag carpet room that my cats are very fond of hanging out in. Not really a test carpet, but I haven't vacuumed this in about a week. I'll do one side with the Shark, the other side with the Levoit. I can really feel that the Shark is agitating the carpet pretty effectively, and it's pretty easy to move it back and forth over the rug. It does have two modes. One is hard floor, one is carpet mode. Once again, it looks pretty good, although you can see a little bit more of the pet hair on the rollers. You can tell me if you think that's a big deal. Inside the canister, we got a lot of fluff. In the medium mode, it seems pretty easy to move the Levoit back and forth across the shag carpet. When I crank it up to maximum, I can actually feel the suction pulling it down into the carpet, and it actually is harder to move. I think it's also doing a really good job of actually agitating the carpet. Again, no issue with tangling, seems effective, and there's a lot of stuff in this dust canister too. I should really vacuum more often in here. We measured suction at the wand for each vacuum. The Shark Vertex was 6 kilopascals in the low setting and 20 in high. That's a pretty average score. Then we measured the Levoit. It was 7 kilopascals in low, 15 in medium, and 27 in high. That's actually not far off the Dyson V15, and it's about 1/3 better than the Shark. We also measured airflow at the wand. The Shark was 10 meters per second on low and 24 on high. The Levoit was 10 meters per second on low, 15 on medium, and 23 on high. So unlike our suction test, the Levoit has essentially identical airflow to the Shark. Now Levoit says you can get up to 60 minutes of run time, but that's in eco mode. In the middle setting, which you're going to use most of the time, it's really closer to 35 minutes. And in the highest setting, it's about 15. But you can see it all on a simple display with your remaining battery percentage. And it does have a replaceable battery. The Shark has no display, but you also get about equivalent battery life. You've got 2 settings here for hard floors and carpets. And then if you really want to get crazy and crank things up, you pull this little trigger here to get boost mode. And the battery in the Shark is also replaceable. Now before we get into my final thoughts, if you found this video at all helpful, please consider subscribing and also check out our new monthly vacuum newsletter at vacuumnerds.com. Now typically you're going to find the Shark and the LVAC-300 priced pretty similarly, although the Shark does tend to be a bit more expensive, and I have seen the Levoit sometimes for a discount. At the time we shot this video, the Shark Vertex IZ462H was more expensive than the Levoit. I found the Levoit for around $300, but of course prices change all the time. And they are pretty closely matched products, but they do have a couple of key differences. One is the head design. The Duo Clean power fans on the Shark have dual brush rolls, and while it is open in the front, that means that the Shark is not quite as good at picking up dirt from carpet. It's probably going to be a little bit better overall on hard surfaces. And it's more weighty. It just feels like you're getting something a little bit more for your money with the head on the Shark. Now, on the other hand, the Levoit was actually a little bit better at carpet pickup. Even though the head looks a little bit simpler, it just did a better job at picked up more dirt. And on hard surfaces, I think it's going to be pretty similar. The one thing I didn't like about the head on the Levoit is that it does tend to flop around side to side on occasion. So in terms of airflow, both vacuums are actually quite equally matched. They're almost identical, but when it comes to suction, the Shark was a better performer. However, when you've got the open style head, I'm not sure how much difference that's actually going to make in real world vacuuming, especially on carpet. Another thing to consider is that the Levoit gives you more tools. You get the pet hair tool, which I really like. I've got a lot of pets. Now, if you're thinking about the lower model Levoit, the LVAC-200, you should know that it doesn't have the same suction and performance as the 300 does. Links to both of these vacuums are going to be down below, and if there's any applicable discounts, you're going to see them there too. And check out this video right here.